As I was busy preparing the next video for you and compiling all of that, I realized that there's something that I really need to explain to you that if you understand it will really help you going forward in this class. So those of you who know me well know that I actually have a really big background in music. I'm a violinist and I've done a lot of concerts and had a lot of really great opportunities. I studied in New York and I even had one student who went to Juilliard. What I'm essentially doing in these videos is applying what I know about mastering the violin to mastering sewing. If I were going to break it down for you, sewing as a skill is basically a lot of building blocks or components put into a specific order of operations. So what I've been doing without you even knowing it is giving you building blocks or components, and you already have quite a few.
Remember this? This is when you learn to bury your needle, sew straight, and go around curves and corners. And in this pillowcase project, we learned to finish raw edges, pin and sew a seam, press seam allowances open, and sew a top stitch. In this most recent drawstring bag project, we reviewed concepts we learned making a satin pillowcase while adding sewing a loop, sewing a casing, threading a casing, and sealing off cord ends. And in the upcoming video, we're not only going to be strengthening and reviewing all of the previous components, I am adding more than is probably advisable to add. This video is packed full of things that you're going to want to know. Take a look.
What I'm trying to do as your teacher is to help you master each one of these components, one at a time, each one building on the last, so you'll have a lot more to work with when you start creating your own stuff. Because what I'm actually trying to do here is not teach you a bunch of little projects. I mean, I try to be really careful about the projects I select. I want you to enjoy them and to like them and feel successful, and that's part of it. But my first priority is to teach you how to be a capable sewist, to give you the components, the building blocks that will allow you to be free for your future. And that's why I'm asking you to follow me step by step. Each of these components are sequential. They build on one another. And if you get out of order, if your order of operations is wrong, it's not going to work out very well, as I will show you in the next video.
Here I am struggling to put a pocket on a bag because I sewed the bag first rather than putting the pocket on first. Wrong order of operations, but that's only a small example of what happens when you get your order of operations wrong. For instance, trying to sew a sleeve in a shirt before learning to sew on a curve. It only leads to a bunch of picking out and problems in the future. I'm trying to save you that time.
Going forward, in each of my videos, I'm going to specifically state in the description and within the video exactly which components I'm covering in each video. There's tons of videos on YouTube that all talk about many of these different components, and I subscribe to a lot of those channels as well. The difference is this one I've tried to construct as a course with a lot of thought behind exactly how this order of operations goes, so that you're not just picking and choosing here and there, but that the projects actually make a lot of sense in the way that they're organized so that you will really get the most benefit out of them. I really hope that you are subscribed to a lot of the sewing channels. That would be awesome. You should. You should look at plenty of ways to apply lace, not just mine. But I think that if you hang out with me for a little bit, you'll understand that doing this in a sequential order makes a ton of sense and will set you up for success in the future. So I know a few of you might be wondering why we haven't tackled patterns yet. Now, patterns are a whole other world, and we will get there. But in the meantime, I felt like there were so many other components to learn that patterns would just confuse mastering all of those more fundamental issues. That's the first thing. And second of all, patterns, I mean, that gets a little bit tricky. I'm sure there are all kinds of sizes out there that we would be dealing with all of you guys. So it's much easier for me to tackle some of the foundational principles of sewing on craft projects simply because we're dealing with squares. And y'all can cut a square or a rectangle or basic shapes. So we're gonna be dealing with basic shapes for a little bit until we get to the pattern phase. It is in the future, but there's a method to the reason that I'm doing these craft projects. It actually shores up and gives you a stronger foundation so that when you do tackle those pattern projects, the clothing and things, you really have some basic skills like
sewing on a curve, going around corners, pressing seam allowances open, grading seam allowances, picking out seams, managing bulk through your machine. This is your base foundation, and you need all of these skills very solidly to perform advanced sewing projects like you will in the future.
So all that's basically just to say, if you're with me, we're gonna do this one skill, one component at a time in the right order. And with that, I'll see you next video. And next video has so much stuff in it. I was almost crazy to put so many new skills, so many new components in one video. There's a ton of stuff in it, so don't skip it. We'll see you next video.